The following is a special presentation of the First Horizon Green Sports Zone. This is the Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show, featuring Joe Case.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, featuring Joe Case, where we cover everything on Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. We'll recap this past week's 42-0 win over Chuckey-Doak on Rebel Hill and preview this week's county matchup with West Greene to start Region 1 2A for the Rebels. But first, as always, we need to get a billboard spot in first, so we'll be right back after this short break here on First Horizon's Green Sports Zone.
The Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show, brought to you by IHOP at Davy Crockett TA Travel Center, Ashley Drug Center, Gateway Ford Nissan, Tommie's Plumbing, by Gary's Paint and Body, and by First Horizon Bank.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, featuring Joe Case, where we cover everything atop Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Shawn Jones.
Hello.
And defensive coach Joe Case.
Be here.
How's it going, fellas?
Great. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here too. A little rainy day today.
Yeah.
Got some practice in today though.
Kind of weird, you talk about that. I thought all week, the anniversary of, Helene, and we were getting ready for West Greene that week when all the rain comes, and I'll be danged if we don't have not as much. No rain today. Supposed to have some tomorrow, but looks like it'll be good for Friday. So just kind of thinking back of what happened a year ago.
And I know you got to go outside and have practice today. You got to prepare for the Milk King game a little bit. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but I want to talk about Chuckey-Doak first, because something that you had talked about last week, you had allowed, I think, 26 the first week, 17 the second, then 10, then 7. You wanted the shutout. You got the shutout. Yeah. You got the 42-0 win over Chuckey-Doak. How good did that feel walking off the field?
Well, it felt really good, and then one thing about it, defense has played well all year. Some of those early, I think, kickoff return in the first week, we had a punt block, and maybe Johnson County gave up some points. So the defense has played really well, but, it was just kind of weird that it started with 26 and was coming down, and next place to go after 7-0. I mean, you might say a field goal, but that's what we did last week. It was kind of iffy there at the end. They had their ones in, we had our seconds in. They called timeout 10 seconds ago, and I'll be danged if we don't tackle them on the one. So to preserve the shutout. So good job by the defense there, but really proud of the way the defense played Friday night.
If we're talking about defense, I got to ask you about it too. We always talk about how much preparation you put into a week's worth of film study, the sheets that you hand out and everything, the hours that you spend out here at practice, and to see it come to fruition out there with a shutout on Friday night. How good did that feel for you?
It feels really good. I was very fortunate when I was a younger coach. I was able to be around Mike Franklin and Fred Charles and several of those guys, and they kind of went through what they did as far as what we used to call poop sheets, and do those things. And then I got the chance to coach Morristown West, Coach Don Woods, and all those guys, and the way they studied film, the things they did. And so did a lot of that in high school too. When I was at Jefferson County, we'd come in on Sundays and watch film. So it feels really good when you get a shutout, but it's more about the kids, and I'm really excited and proud of the kids for how they play and how they've come a long way.
And I know one thing that we've talked about week after week is the turnovers that you've been able to force. I think you had 3 interceptions again on Friday night. You had 2 more by Trent Haynes, and Noah Shelton got in there and got an interception. So you're not only able to shut teams out on defense, but you're able to take the ball away so frequently throughout the year. So what I asked you last week, what worked well in the secondary against North Greene, what worked well this week against Chuckey-Doak?
Well, these guys are just getting better. We're working on it. We spend time with those guys. We move some guys around. But right now, I think we're plus 11 or 12 in turnover margin. And if you're going to be that, you're going to win ball games. We've only fumbled once. That was week 1. Nash did the other night, but we got on it in the end zone. So we've really just given up 1 turnover all year. And like I say, we were plus. I think we're plus 11, or plus 12. But anyway, that's big. And when you look back on the years when you can be over plus 10, then that means you got a pretty good year going.
Same question to you also. What's working well out there in the secondary for those guys to be able to jump those routes?
Well, Trent, he's playing linebacker now. We've tried to find places for Trent to play because he's such a good athlete, good ball player, and does a great job. We worked a lot on RPO, Chuckey-Doak's RPO game, and we went what we call eagle slide wide a little bit, and we felt our front could hold up a little bit better. And, there were times we only had 5 in box, and we did pretty well against the run. And, Charlie and those guys did a really good job. And, really proud of Trent and really proud of Noah. He stepped up and made a big play. We could have had 2 more. We dropped 2 more, but really proud of our guys and how hard they work. And, Coach Wright does a good job in the secondary. And, Coach Jones works with our linebackers and does an excellent job. And, we got a little pressure at times up front. Coach Carter does a good job there. Really proud of them. And we just make a call and they execute, and that's the main thing.
I want to talk about offense a little bit, but as always, when we talk about offense, I like to mention them each week. Your line paving the way once again. You have 352 rushing yards, 401 total yards of offense. Nash, Tripp, and Charlie don't score the touchdowns that they do, and Lucas Murdoch, without the O-line up front paving the way for them. So, once again, how key was the O-line's play?
Well, that's real key. Like I said, preseason, we tell the guys all the time, we didn't know how it was going to be. We knew we had our 2 tackles. Everybody else was new. Pablo's done great at center, and our guards are finally coming along here. But the good thing is, with the yards we're getting, we still have mistakes, and that's a good thing. If we feel like we ain't peaked, and that's what you want to do. You want to get better every week. We come in on film on Saturday. You'll see the scores, but offensive guys will be butt, and that's what you want. This kid did this or didn't do this, and so every week we bring them in here and show them how to get better, and so. That can be scary when you're not peaked yet and you're doing what you're doing. So, but the line's doing a great job. Probably better than we thought they would be at this time. So, still got 5 games to go, and the playoff game really 6 right now. So really proud of those guys. And you talk to Tripp and Nash and even Charlie, they'll tell you they can't do what they do without him. And with Charlie having 91 yards, that's probably the closest we've ever been at South Greene to having 3 guys over 100. 2 of them did. And we almost had 3, so we're very impressed with those guys.
And then talking about those 3, they always get their own segment each week, just like the O-line does. Nash Rader, again, only 46 passing yards, but he didn't really need to pass it any. He had 129 rushing yards himself with 2 touchdowns. Tripp Neese, 116 rushing yards and a pair of touchdowns. And then Charlie, 91 rushing yards, the touchdown, and had those 46 receiving yards from Nash. So the beginning of the year, I think we talked about a 2-headed monster with Nash and Tripp there in the backfield, but now it's really became a 3-headed monster and a triple threat on your offense with all 3 of those producing the yards that they're able to produce each week.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it, and I keep saying it. If we don't have to right now, but if we get the passing game going, we still got other receivers out there, that can do some damage. We got Lucas Couch out there and Simon Burns that. I know they get frustrated because we don't get the ball to them, but we ain't had to, So hopefully on down the road, if we have to do that, we got those weapons also. So we're real excited about that. And then, of course, with what we're doing rushing, every now and then we'll throw 3 out there, Trent, so he's doing a good job. That can come in and spell those guys. So just excited about the running game. As you go, lots of times as a coach, and Coach Casey tell you when he used to call offense, if you're one-dimensional and it's doing well, you always got in the back of your head, who is anybody going to step up to throw a wrench into that, and then you have to do the other. So hopefully that don't happen. Hopefully we can continue to do what we're doing, rushing the ball. And the thing about it, when you talk about passing, 3 things can happen. 2 of them are bad or negative, so you really want to try to run the football, and that's what we're going to continue to try to do.
And Lucas getting a touchdown also. Let's talk about that. We don't talk about many other players outside of those 3 that get touchdowns, but it's kind of a negative and a positive. You fumble the ball, but your lineman jumps on it and gets a touchdown. So how cool was that moment?
Well, now Nash says he was already in. Of course he's going to say that, because it was right there. It was right there at the goal line. But it's kind of funny, Lucas on Monday said, I got the touchdown. We're like, yeah, we gave you credit for it. So so he didn't even know it until Monday. So it was cool to get that guy in because your linemen always want to score. We always tell them, we've already talked to some of them seniors. Hey, can I get back and run the ball? Well, you have to have a situation where you can do that. So it was just crazy that it turned out that way. But I guess you see those guys scoring, those 3 scoring. I guess they have all touchdowns except 1. Those 3, Charlie and Nash and them Trent's got a couple. So But it's good to see somebody else in the stat sheet with a touchdown. So
We talk about the shutout. We talk about the defense and the preparation you put into it. Whenever you see the offense picking up as many yards as they have now, I think back-to-back weeks, that's 900-plus total yards of offense with the North Greene and Chuckey-Doak games. How much pressure does that take off of you as a defensive coach, knowing that your offense is doing that well for you?
Well, quite a bit. There's been times in the past that Coach Jones and Coach Burns, and they look at me and said, well, defense will take care of us until we get going here. So I'm like, okay, thanks, throw it all on me. But no, it does make it a lot easier. You can call a little more freer. You can just see things, and, I think they get mad at me sometimes. They're frustrated at me on the sidelines because I walk by and say, run the ball. I say, get that thing downfield and run the ball, run it down their throat. And, that's just part of it. Being with them, it's been really fun. But, when you got some guys that are dynamic, there's times when, we've got Nash back this past week playing safety some. But, I'm looking around and I said, we got to get him some rest. He got to get back on offense because he can help us. And we need to do the same thing with Tripp and a few of those others. We tried to get Charlie some spells the other day to give him some breaks. But I think one thing we've done a good job at, team-wise, as a coaching staff, is we've developed a lot more depth throughout the first 5 games than we had at the beginning of the year. Because at the beginning of the year, I would have said we probably had 6, maybe 7 guys I thought that could really play defense for us. But now we've developed a lot by working and doing those things and playing a lot of people. And it helps when you play a lot of people. So I think that's a positive for us. Coach Shows does a good job of that.
We're talking, like I said, with Nash, we're looking now to get him off the field. We're in early in the year we were playing. People was like, oh gosh, we got to get Nash back. People stepped up. 8 stepped up. 9 stepped up at safety, and we're looking now to maybe get those, get Nash off the field eventually, and he's still gonna play. It's like when it's big time and we know how athletic he is, and Coach Case can have the luxuries like, all right, it's 3rd down and long, Nash get in there, but it will be good and developing these guys to play. Like say for preseason, Coach Case is talking like who we're gonna play here, and now we got people we can play here, and it's just trial and error. With a school our size, some big schools you can put a guy there. You're outside linebacker and you're gonna stay there for 4 years, no matter what. We have to trial and error, move people around, and people stepping up, and it's really good to see.
I agree with that. Early in the year we were trying to move Trent around a little bit, and then we had a little depth issues at inside backer, and he's such a great athlete. We said we just got to put him there and leave him and play him. And then we started off with Owenby. He was starting out at Rebel and was doing a pretty decent job for us. But when Nash had a little bit of a setback there, we had to find somebody, and we knew Shawn could play a little bit. We just worried a little bit about some things as far as things I thought you need to be as a secondary guy and things that we look for. But he makes up for it with doing what he's supposed to do and being where he's supposed to be. He makes a lot of plays like that. A lot of his interceptions has been he was in the right place where he's supposed to be. They throw it up, he makes a catch, big time play. So we've done a really good job of really finding people and moving parts, and we've got another young man that's come back out this week, and we're already looking to find where he can fit him in to give us more depth.
And the Rebels are rolling right now. Got a 4-game winning streak going on with back-to-back wins over county rivals in North Greene and Chuckey-Doak, and you get another county rival this week. We talked about how you stacked up all 3 county rivals back-to-back on the schedule, not by design and not by purpose. It's just how it happened. Now you've got a chance to go out there, not only win the milk can, not only take the county cup, but you start region play this week also, which is the most important part. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. As always, we need to get a word in from our sponsors first. So we'll talk about those things right after this break here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Tommie's Plumbing has been in business for 30 years, and we're still growing because we treat our customers like family. We are proud to do any job from kitchen faucet installation to a complete home repipe. Tommie's Plumbing offers warranties on most products installed by our technicians. When the job is done, our friendly professionals make sure to clean up. We invite you to visit our new showroom in Jonesboro to see our quality products for yourself. Tommie's is the only one to call when you need a fast, reliable, professional plumber in the Tri-Cities.
At many dealerships, you get what you'd expect: games, gimmicks, and shady sales tactics. At Gateway Nissan in Greenville, expect the unexpected: low prices, convenient service, and a great buying experience.
Get our Gateway exclusive lifetime powertrain warranty.
No worries for life.
You deserve the unexpected. It's the #1 reason you gotta get to Gateway.
Shop online at gatewaynissangreenville.com.
Or take the super short drive down Highway 11E to Gateway Nissan in Greenville.
Win or lose, it's a family tradition. "24-hour hot breakfast, cold drinks, and a table big enough for the whole team, or just your team." IHOP at Davy Crockett Travel Centers. Breakfast that brings you back. Open 24/7 right off I-81, exit 36. Welcome back to First Horizons Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, featuring Joe Case, where we cover everything atop of Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. As always, joined here with head coach Shawn Jones and defensive coach Joe Case. So you got a little something behind us.
Yep.
It's that week of the year. We talked about it at the beginning. It's the milk can rivalry. It's milk can week. It's West Greene versus South Greene. To some people, it's their favorite week of the year.
Yours. We know it's yours. We know it's your favorite week. Okay.
Coming from a West Greene alumni, it's always a game that I circle on the calendar. It's always a fun game to be a part of. Seeing it from both sides now, kind of seeing it from an outside perspective, it's nice to see it from the South Greene side. It's nice to see it from the West Greene side and how much it means to both communities. And the better part about it now, as we mentioned, is it's a region game now.
Yeah, that's right.
So not only does it have the bragging rights and the pride and the trophy along with it, you've got playoff implications now. And you start your Region 1 2A play this week against West Greene. So what's the mindset going into Friday night?
Well, here in practice, we've talked about 1-0. This is important to the community and stuff. And it's one of those things where when I first started coaching, we won it for so many years, and then Coach Case come along, won it 7 straight years. It's kind of like Cinderella says, you don't know what you got till it's gone, and so that part is important. But again, now that West Greene, and back then, it's kind of when we first started, West Greene was conference, then they wasn't, then it was, and it's kind of on and off, and now they're back. But just going 1-0 to conference is big because our culture around here, since I've come back 6 years ago, we're wanting to play for conference championships and going down the road, and you can't win a conference unless you go 1-0. So all the extra. We'll leave it up to the cheerleaders and the community and stuff. And we got to go 1-0 this week, and we've got a good ball club that's coming in here, or we're going down to play Friday night.
Being the defending Region 1 2A champions, too, of course, looking to go back-to-back, and you've got to get a win over West Greene to be able to reach that ultimate goal. So for you, what's the preparation like going into this week against West Greene to open region play?
Well, I talked to our guys earlier in the week. We want to prepare every game like that we're playing the best team in the state of Tennessee. It's something that a few years ago that we had a football player that played at Morristown West, and he was in Knoxville, and he was a running back years ago that played for Merrill, was a really good football player, and they actually kind of met each other in an area, kind of happenstance meet up, and got to talk, and he said, how does Maryville be so consistent? How do y'all do it? And at that time, George, coached played at Jefferson County, and I've always thought the world of George and his family. But George built a culture down there every day that they said they were playing Morristown West every week because they knew at that time Morristown West was the best team they were going to face to get to the state championship. So they practiced every day at that intensity and that level to get to where they wanted to be. So that's the way I approach it still. I do the same things as far as scouting reports, still do everything. Spend a lot of time. Might spend a few more extra hours this week, but it's something that I think you just got to be consistent.
And of course, we'll talk about the milk can in just a second also. But one thing I want to add, before I forget, before we get too enthralled talking about the milk can, is the County Cup's on the line this week also.
Yeah.
Beating Chuckey-Doak last week put you in the driver's seat to sweep county teams with a win over West Greene this week. And we've not seen the County Cup get raised since Chuckey-Doak raised it in Lower Afton 3 years ago. Now that North Greene's back on everybody's schedule, it's back in rotation with everybody. So what would it mean for those kids also not only to raise the milk can on Friday night with a win, but to raise the County Cup also?
Again, that's on down the road when they're 20 years down the road, we're going to work with each other to brag about that, you know. So I mean, that's big, you know. You want to be the best in your county, in your league, or whatever you want to do. So it is important, but, you know, again, you know, not take away from that, but, you know, we got to go 1-0 in the conference. So that's why this is big this week. And, you know, we could talk about that stuff next week, you know, if we win it and all that stuff, because, you know, we were concentrating on going 1-0 in the conference, and then, you know, West Greene's next. And so that's the way I look at it, and try to, you know, put it in the, but, you know, there've been years, you know, winning this and just winning the County Cup, and that was great for South Greene, you know. And Coach Wright talked about here today at practice, you know, there was years before where we were just wanting to compete with people and thought it was a moral victory. Well, there's no more moral victories anymore for South Greene. You know, we're wanting to go out there, compete, and do what we need to do. So all the extra stuff comes, and we'll talk about it when it happens. But, you know, we don't try to put a lot of emotion into that, you know, because, again, we got to go 1-0 in the conference if we want to win the conference.
Same question for you also. How cool would it be to see the milk can and the County Cup get raised on Friday night?
It'd be great for kids, be great for a community. You know, I think the County Cup has been null and void for the last 3 years, so none of our seniors.
No, nobody's raised it.
Nobody's raised it since then. So it's something I think would be special for those guys. You know, technically, you know, I told the kids last year, because we played the Jamboree with North Greene and we beat the other two, I was like, hey, we're county champions, but this time it's for real. And I think it'd be special for our kids. I think it'd be a great opportunity for our seniors. Last chance to, you know, play West Greene in the regular season, and they should be excited about it, and I think it'd be special for them.
Let's talk about West Greene a little bit also. They've not had the best season as of right now. They're coming into this game winless, but I think something that is not, you're not shy to talk about it either, is it's a big game for them. You've talked about it also. It can be claimed as West Greene's Super Bowl, where that's the one game that they want to win more than any others throughout the year. They always give you a tough test out there on the field every single year in this milk can game. So what are you going to expect from the Buffaloes on Friday night?
Well, you know, it's kind of one of those situations, you're 0-5 and you wonder if they're desperate. And if you've got a desperate team coming in, they're going to be dangerous. You know, and you might say, how would you say that? They didn't even play the conference game yet. But, you know, 0-5, you know, could be mentally tough on a team. So, you know, they're going to play it. They got nothing to lose. You know, they really don't, although it is first conference game. So, and we've tried to get the guys to understand that. You know, every year you watch film, and there's been years they've been really great on film. Some years like, you know, they're not so great, but they're going to play your butts off. You know, we went down there, I think it was 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and, you know, was a better team and got beaten. We had 5 turnovers and did some stuff, you know. You know, 1 year they came up here and was down, I think Coach Carter said his senior year, we got down 14-0, 14-7. I think we ended up beating them by 35, but it was a dog fight. So that's what you know, you want to, you know, we told the guys, you know, we feel, you know, we're a better team. But now you got to come out, and they're going to play your butts off, and because they want to go 1-0 in the conference, and they want to go, you know, again, if they beat us and don't win another one, they want to go 1-9 on the year. So trying to get the guys to understand that's big, because no matter what, I went and watched them play North Greene 2 weeks ago. I was like, boys, you know, they didn't have a great game that night and didn't have a great game against Eagleton. I was like, but I promise you they're going to come out and be ready to go Friday night.
I know you've done your preparation on West Greene, and you know what you'll expect. So tell us what you think you'll see from the Buffaloes when they take the field against the Rebels.
Well, I think they'll try some different stuff against us defensively. So we've thrown a lot of different things. You know, they may come out in the Emory Henry formation, and they may come out and, you know, empty and try to do some things. So we kind of, you know, talked about that and came out in that a few times in things that they've done in the past to us. They may try to hold the ball and just run it and run the time down. That's something we got to get off the field if they do have to, you know, go to that and do that. And they're capable. You know, you watch film. You watch the first series they had on offense against Eagleton. They run it right down the field. get down there and have a chance to opportunity to score, and just had some bad things happen, penalties and things like that, or they're right there in the mix of it. You go to you watch Providence, you watch some of the other games they played. Chuckey-Doak had an opportunity to win it at the end. So they could be with their schedule. They could be easily 2-3 or 3-2. But I know that those guys down there are working hard. I worked with those guys for a long time, and a lot of good people down there. But they're going to keep working just like we are, and they're going to find a way to get their guys better, and they'll have them ready to play.
One other thing that I feel, what I say all the time, and I believe Coach Case will agree with me. Sometimes, when you don't know exactly what another team's going to do you worry about you. We go to practice, and Coach Case is big on alignment, assignment, and being where you're supposed to be. And you feel no matter what they do, if you know what you're doing, then you can defend anything. I had an old coach down here at South Greene. He's playing state championships all the time, basketball, Coach Rickard. He'd always talk about that. Like, Coach, how you going to prepare for his team? Is like, I don't worry about them sometimes. I worry about me, my team. And so, I've thought about that a lot. Worry about what we do first, and then, stuff comes out and they do, then, okay, we can adjust to it.
It's usually the last question in every interview, but I'm going to ask it early this time. When you take the field against West Greene, what are your 3 keys to the game that you need to carry out on Friday?
Well, of course, I've said every week this year, and I think we won it last year. I will say, got to win special teams. Last 2 weeks we ain't punted. That's a big deal. We got to win special teams because we've got an F up through right now. With the special teams, so we're getting better. When we have the football, we got to take our opportunities and score. We talked about last year. The score looked like we just ran away with it, but we come out and scored in the second series. We was 3 and out. So you got to take your opportunities, and then you just got to play good, sound defense, and then everything else take care of itself.
Let's talk about the Milk Can game a little bit also, because people around my age group are familiar with you in a different color that's behind the maroon on this side. And me being in high school, it was crazy seeing both of you on opposite sidelines of each other. And now that you're both coaching on South Greene staff in the Milk Can game, I want to ask you, from a coach who's been on both sides and a coach who's only been on one side, what does the Milk Can game mean to you?
Well, like I said, when I first started there for so many years, we had it, and I tell this story. I don't think Coach Case was down there yet. There was one year, it was in my basement. I almost forgot to bring it to the game, because we had it so long.
Yeah.
And I really, back then, I was like, well, they don't mean a whole lot. Well, again, when Coach Case got down there and they went 7 straight years, then it meant a lot when we got it back. So again, you don't know what you got till it's gone. So that part's the big part about it, keeping it and make sure it's in your community, because this was a community thing. Coach Case talked about, the secretary down there started the Milk Can game, and you see it in college. They have trophies when they have rivalry games and county games and state games. Like Kentucky, Tennessee used to be the beer barrel, and you have the different things that people play for. So that part is big. That you want to keep it in your community. And somebody on Facebook last night says, when is the Milk Can game? We're like, it's still kind of weird to see that, because the community people, it is important to them.
Yeah.
Like I say, to me, going 1-0 is more important than anything. But it is big, and like I say, it'd be even bigger to Coach Case, because he had been on both sides of the ball, and see what it means when you get it. But it is special. We don't talk about it during the week, but whoever wins it, you see all the pictures. All the kids and parents out there taking pictures and everything. So that's a big part about having it.
To me, a lot of the same thing Coach said here, but a lot of the things, being on both sides, is the kids, the young men now. Seeing them win it for the first time, or seeing them get it back after they'd lost it. Those are the things that I remember. After the game, he talked about pictures. Hey, Coach, come over and get a picture with us, and those type of things. I've got a picture of Noah, my oldest son, when we first won it back when I was at West Greene, holding it up. And then I can remember all the, people going in the locker room, taking pictures in the locker room, and all excited. One year we won, when I was at West Greene, we won it. We get out here, it's a dog fight of a game, and everybody's battling. And we ended up winning in the last minute. We get on the bus is stuck because it had rained. We had to sit out here and try to find a way home. And, it's those things what you remember. It's about the kids. I can remember, Luke Myers, my first year here, and playing a tough game down there, and how hard they fought. And our guys fought to hang in there and win it. And, just through the years, just the things that you see and the coaches and on both sides and the people smiling, and it's just it means a lot to everybody. But I just think about the people and the communities. That's what it means.
Last question I'll ask y'all. This is a little bit of a fun question. I want to hear your all's answers. Coaching against each other in the milk can game. What's one memory you remember about coaching against each other in the milk can game?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I guess the biggest one was probably the 3-0 game the year before they started to run. West Greene should have they and Coach Case they had guys open all night long and couldn't connect. My running back went down early in the game and we kicked the field goal, beat them 3-0. And that's in the mud. That was the biggest thing. And Coach Case talked about it years after. I always talked about that. That was big to me. Was when we done it. And again, like I said, when we finally lost it, one thing the game coach talks about. I guess when they're in here in the locker room taking pictures with it, you're like, oh my gosh, because again, we had it so long that you don't really think about it until you lose it. And then, and I guess I think Coach Case was here a couple years ago. We won it, and as a kid, didn't want to give it to us. One of their students was one of their managers. He was over hiding it. At that time they had their ADs go get it. Coach O's like, dude, they had to chase the kid down to get the daggone can.
Shout out to Marty.
Shout out to Marty. Yeah, Marty. Marty had
44, Marty. 44. I still remember you.
Marty had the can. It was hiding. He said, "They ain't getting it." And so,
if you know Marty, that's awesome.
Yeah. He was. I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but Marty's over there trying to hide the can, and we wasn't gonna get it. We're all laughing. We didn't. We knew what it meant to him. Yeah. And that right there is, I guess, what sums up the can. He was so fired up about losing it, he wasn't going to give it to us. So on either side, that sums up the rivalry between the two.
And I think Marty himself probably sums up the rivalry between West Greene and South Greene, because there are very few people you'll meet that dislike South Greene more. So
Marty made sure when I started coaching down there, he wanted a can. That's from the get-go.
I think you said that's the first thing the community asked you when you took over the job.
Well, one of the things, and a quick story, and I'll get Marty. My first year coaching down there, I'm in there. It's the first game I've ever had, and I'm all fired up. Everyone, I'm trying to get things ready to go, and I walk into the locker room. Coach Sauceman was playing there during that time. Coach Holm was coaching. And I walk in the locker room, and I'm thinking, who is this? And Marty is in the locker room, and he's in a full uniform, wanting to go play. So it does mean a lot to him down there, and a lot of people.
Absolutely. What's your favorite memory coaching opposite of Coach Jones too in that game?
The first time we won it here, the kids, they had been desperate for years, and we worked hard. And the year before the 3-0 game, I can remember going across there thinking how I was so dejected because I felt we played our butts off and had the opportunity, and I felt we had let the community down there down, in that area down, and I just felt so dejected. And I think those guys, as they went on, and I can remember their faces, Clark and McCamus and Justin Comer and a lot of those guys that just never had the opportunity to do that. I can remember their faces. And when they won it, it was just like, it was the greatest thing ever just to see them excited. I was excited. They were more excited than me, and that was kind of the thing that feels good. We won it back after we'd lost it in 22. We'd lost it down there, and seeing our kids fired up here and seeing them excited to get it back and wanting to go get it. And those are things you remember. But, you can throw everything out the window. The memories that the kids, I say the kids, most of them are young men now, if you look at it from 74 all the way up on both sides, if you look at all the people that have played in this game and the memories it's brought to the community and those guys, it's just kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. It really is, and we'll get another edition of the Milk Can game this week on Friday night. And, of course, if you can't make it out, you can watch it on First Horizon's Green Sports Zone. You can watch it on the Green Sports Zone Facebook and YouTube pages, along with the Radio Greenville Facebook page. It'll be this week's Bachman Bernard Game of the Week, presented by Tommie's Plumbing. But, of course, we encourage you to make it out to the range on Friday night to watch the game. Gates open at 5:30. Make sure you get there in time to get a seat on South Greene side. If you're a West Greene fan, get on West Greene side. Of course, the fences will be full all the way around the field with standing room only spots, but unless there's anything else either of you have
That's it.
to add.
You bring your inflatable seats down there when you can sit around the fence if you don't have any room.
Yeah, bring
some
your lawn chairs,
whatever
yeah.
you have.
It's always, it's a big crowd when those people are sitting there.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, Coach,
thank you.
that's all I got. That's all I
Appreciate
got. Appreciate you for joining us this week.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Shawn Jones Show featuring Joe Case. We look forward to seeing y'all next time here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.